Hello. Most of you know who I am. My name is Maxwell Adams. I live on Raymond 2. Some would call it the best floor in Nyhart, but those are just people who are correct. For those, some of you may know me, for those who don't, I just introduced myself. Guys, ever since I was a kid, I've always been a fan of government process. And I've always been a big justice guy. I've always been really big on everybody getting what they deserve, mostly in a positive way. And so, when I was in 5th grade, I'm going to tell you a story. Well, I'm telling you a story now, but I was in 5th grade. And there was a spelling test that I took with my teacher. And typically we get a 20 out of 20, and that was 100%. And that's what I was used to because I strive for excellence. Now at the time, one of the words on there was color. And so it would be insane for me to spell color wrong. But at the time, I'll admit, I was a bit of a Beatlemaniac, as a lot of us go through that sort of, faith. I smile when I'm nervous. And so I decided to spell color with a U, because I was going to be that kid. So I spelled color with a U, which is technically correct, and then I got a 19 out of 20, and I about lost my mind. And so I went to my teacher and I said, Mrs. Walkenhorst, this has to be incorrect. And her name was actually Mrs. Walkenhorst. And I said, this has to be incorrect. And she said, it's not incorrect, we live in America. At the time, there wasn't a whole lot I could do about it, so I didn't really do much then, but it's been in the back of my mind ever since. And so now, I want to make it my goal to try and make as good a world for everybody as I can make. Hey, Mike, can I get that water? Mike Lemmer, everybody. But anyway, Mike, can you come get this water again? Mike Lemmer, everybody. So I decided this year especially, after 2 years of a real bamboozling political process in Washington with the Don in the White House, I decided that the only course of action that could be proper is for Max Adams to get his way into the White House. So that's why I'm announcing my candidacy for the 2020 presidential election. If you guys want to take those cheers back. And so I just care about this country so much, and I want to give back to the people who've given me so much. Sometimes so much in a good way, and sometimes so much, and I get a lot of flack from people. But we're not going to talk about those people today. I'm gonna cough. Some people will say, Max, you're only 19 years old, and by the time you get elected, you're only going to be 20. You're only going to be 20. My birthday's in August. You're going to be 20. And so they say the Constitution says you have to be 35. And to those people, I say, I've gone through a lot of obstacles before, and that's just going to be another one I'm going to have to get over. And so now I think I'm going to dedicate this time to answering, for the next 20 minutes, I'm going to be answering your guys' questions. So if anybody has a question, if you could please raise your hand. Over there, thank you. Excuse me. Thank you. Sorry. Is that a violin in there? You play? I would imagine. What's your name? John Kronk. I think I know you. Can you please ask your question to the microphone?
With the wage gap increasing between the ultra-rich and the impoverished in America, what is your plan to decrease that wage gap and keeping the Americans at least above the poverty line?
Thank you for your question. Is there anybody else who has a question? Right here, you have a question. Please say your name and your question into the microphone.
My name is Josh. So I guess this is either a question for you or your First Lady designated if you so desire. One, would you readmit salt into school cafeterias? And two, what do you feel about the enforced cardboard, what's it called, recycling?
To answer your first question, I will not be in the possession, well, possession, that's not a proper word, I apologize. I will not be one half of a First Lady President combination.
Next, I volunteer.
And I will also not have a First Man. I believe that... I'll shake everybody's hands later, you don't have to freak out about it now. I don't believe in a First Lady or First Man situation. I believe that it's proper, as an American citizen, for me to be legally allowed to marry my dog. But to answer your second question, about salt in cafeterias, I never have and never will stand up for assault. And for your second question, with the cardboard, I didn't expect that. I have no idea how to answer that question. But I will by the time November 2020 comes around. Yes, back there, if you could just shout for me, I don't have the energy to walk all the way back there.
Oh yeah, first of all, shout out, he's a really wonderful resident, my resident on the best floor in Nightheart.
Please don't tell people that.
When you get elected, what's your first plan of action?
My first plan of action?
Yes.
My first plan of action, moving into the White House, will be probably hiring some sort of firm. Most likely U-Haul, but my cousin also owns a moving company, so excellent question, thank you very much. Are there any other questions that anybody has? Yes, over there, could you please shout your name and your question?
You know who I am. What are your priorities for the national budget?
For the national budget? I believe that we need a strong military. As a Republican candidate, I believe that we need a strong military to stay as a defended country, and so that we can take other people's land from them. If they don't fight hard enough for it, they don't deserve it. So to answer your question, the 2016 education budget, Department of Education budget on the federal level was $68 billion. That adds up to about, for every teacher in America, as well as the 4,000 Department of Education employees, that adds up to about $1,886 per employee. While the military offers about $137,000 per employee. So the first thing I would like to do is make it so that it is at least $200,000 per military employee, cutting into the DOE budget if necessary. Yes, back there.
Do you believe in nuking first or nuking second?
That is an excellent question. I believe, in my heart of hearts, I believe that nuclear weapons should only be used for two reasons. If the situation gets so dire that you feel like the world can never recover from something, so you might as well just end it all. Or if you have a special lady or fella and you really want to impress them. To answer your question, your main question, though, I do believe that first is the worst. Yes.
What qualities do you find most attractive in a dog?
In a dog? Really, any of the qualities they can get from a Blue Buffalo dog food, a shiny coat, healthy muscles, something else. I'm not yet sponsored by Blue Buffalo dog food, but I sure would like to be. I consume their product every day, and it's a fantastic product. And, okay, so for our last question, Mr. back there.
How are you planning to address the onslaught of news affecting how you would govern the State of the Union?
News about me personally?
Yeah, that.
You hear that from Jacob? Don't let Jacob tell you guys anything. I'll do just fine, all right? Okay, so I think that's all the time. I hopefully answered your question. I think that's all the time I have for you guys today. So thank you very much for your time. Vote Maxwell Adams in 2020. Thank you.